You're halfway through learning to play a song that you really like when you stumble across a B or a B flat chord. So you whip out your trusty guitar chord shape reference book or consult a guitar chord shape app of some description, and it shows you the following options. For the B chord, all the same shapes move down a fret for the B flat. The problem is that none of these shapes are all that easy for beginners. Let's start with the first chord shape shown for the B chord. I think this is the best shape to try and master first because it works well in almost all applications in terms of its sound, and also allows a number of different fingering possibilities. For those of you with fairly long and slender fingers, I advise trying this fingering first. First finger on the root at the second fret on the A string, and then each of your second, third and fourth fingers on the three strings here at the fourth fret. That's the D string, the G string and the B string. This shape does have a few inherent problems for most guitarists, which I'll just point out briefly. The main issue is normally getting a big enough gap between the first and second fingers. Pushing your wrist forward by dropping your shoulder and rotating your arm so that the elbow comes into your midriff makes a surprising difference to your ability to stretch between those two fingers. Also, it's worth experimenting with the order in which you put your fingers down. Ideally, you want to put the root note down first, and then adding the other three fingers like this. But if this way round is a struggle, try putting these three fingers down first and then adding the root note afterwards. Also with this fingering, this second finger is of necessity some way from its optimum position just behind the fret wire. So to clean up the sound of this note, you may need to press harder with this fingertip than normal. Finally, for this shape, you want to make sure that you're muting out the top and bottom strings. Luckily, this more or less takes care of itself. But if you hear this sound, pay a bit of attention to where your first finger is and make sure it's just touching the sixth string there to mute that out. And at the underside of the finger just dampens the top string there to get that muted as well. Now I know that for many guitar players, trying to fit all three of these fingers next to each other behind the fourth fret here just seems impossible due to the size and shape of their fingertips. Luckily, players with stronger fingers are probably going to find the alternative fingering easier anyway. Here, I'm holding all three strings down with one finger, the third finger. You sometimes hear this called a half bar or mini bar. And there are a number of ways to approach this fingering, again depending on your own particular finger size and shape. The ideal aim is to curl this finger so that these three strings are clean, but the top one is completely muted. To get the best contact on the strings you do want to hold down, you may find it helps to roll the finger slightly over onto its outer edge, like that. Notice that in this case my elbow goes out to help me stretch my first finger. Most of what we've just been over on the first shape applies equally to the second shape shown here. This is not a true root position chord shape, so it has a somewhat weaker sound than the first shape. But I do know that some beginners find this easier to play. Again, you have the option of using 3 fingers or just one to hold down these 3 strings at the 4th fret. The last 2 shapes are really bar chord options. Either 5 strings as a root position chord, ideal in most circumstances, or all 6 strings, which again some people, especially those with larger hands, actually find easier. On the Secret Guitar Teacher site there are a couple of lessons all about bar chords that cover these options in great detail. For now I'll just say give these shapes a try, but there's no rush to try to master them if you find that one of the first 2 shapes is easier for you to hold down and keep sounding clean. By the way, everything we've mentioned here about B chords applies equally to B flat chords as well. Just move the whole shape down a fret. Most of us will find B flat chords a tiny bit harder as the fret spacing is slightly wider and the string tension tighter as we near the nut of the guitar. So working on the B chords first makes good sense. In the next soundbite, I'll show you a few workarounds that will be of interest to anyone who, in spite of the tips in this lesson, still finds the B or B flat chord a real struggle. If you found this little lesson useful, please do click on the like button if there is one, or leave a comment, and do feel free to share the video with your friends. And if you'd like to gain full access to all our guitar teaching materials, please visit the Secret Guitar Teacher site and take a free look round at what's available there. See you again soon.